We're almost done. Acting Secretary Sue, do you accept any responsibility for the $32 billion in unemployment fraud that occurred on your watch in California?
Thank you very much for that, Congressman. I certainly know that I and many of my colleagues and others who sat in the same position that I did when the pandemic hit wish that we had had a system that was capable of meeting the need. That is why, in the time that I've been Deputy Secretary, I've been really focused on helping to support states.
Okay, but I'm sorry, I just got to stop you, because let's focus on the question that was asked, okay? Do you accept any responsibility for the unemployment fraud that occurred in California, yes or no?
I think that an unemployment insurance system that truly delivers in times of crisis should be the goal of everybody. And California's system, like all the systems across the country.
Do you accept any responsibility for the unemployment fraud that occurred in California?
So let me answer this this way, Congressman, just so we're clear about exactly what happened. So over 95% of the fraud that occurred in California, but this is consistent with the rest of the country, occurred in a program called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance.
I understand all that, and I will stipulate that there were things that were beyond your control. What I'm asking you is, do you accept any responsibility for the unemployment fraud that occurred in California?
So let me just say what the state auditor said, right? The state auditor said that the reason for the fraud that occurred in that program was two things. One is the completely unprecedented spike in claims, and the second was that the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, in its design, did not have the same safeguards that unemployment insurance has, right? It was designed for a group of individuals who were not eligible for unemployment insurance.
Okay, so you're quoting the state audit report. I happen to have right here the state audit report. Despite repeated warnings, EDD did not bolster its fraud detection efforts until months into the pandemic. Now, you in your testimony in the Senate, you said that as soon as we knew that there was fraud happening, I shut the front door to that fraud. That's what you said. That was your testimony. As soon as we knew that there was fraud happening, I shut the front door to that fraud. You said I made changes to the program that would ensure people wouldn't get in the front door, and yet the very independent audit report that you just cited says exactly the opposite. So how do you reconcile those two things?
Thank you, Congressman. I'm not sure. So there were two reports. What you said that, what you quoted me as saying, I was talking about one of the things that was built into the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program was automatic backdating, meaning that whenever somebody applied...
I'm aware that you made changes to automatic backdating, but I'm saying, is this audit report wrong, that despite repeated warnings, EDD did not bolster its fraud detection efforts under your leadership?
Well, so when I said that I shut the front door, it's because we stopped in California the automatic backdating that meant that somebody who applied
I understand the automatic, but I'm not asking about that.
Okay.
So we have another statement here from Cotty Petrie Norris, who is the Democrat who chaired the Assembly Accountability and Administrative Review Committee. She said that there were simple and obvious steps that are implemented across the country that you did not implement, and she said that you in particular have not done a good job at running the Employment Development Department, and as a result, has wasted billions of dollars and, more importantly, caused heartache for millions of Californians. Was Democrat Assemblywoman Cotty Petrie Norris wrong about that?
Well, to be clear, Congressman, I did not run the EDD. I was the Labor Secretary in California, but several agencies fell under my purview, and I did take responsibility for our need. There were, desperate Californians who were very hard hit by closures, by the loss of their jobs, and relied on unemployment insurance, but also on pandemic unemployment assistance. Yes, I do. I take
what would you have done
responsibility for the fact
differently
that
if
the
you could do it?
system did not deliver in ways that we would have hoped that it delivered. But the fraud, as the auditor found, was a result of unprecedented spike in claims and the design of the program. Now, I'm not criticizing, actually. I do think that any kind of fraud, abuse, there's no place in the system for any of that. The fact that that occurred led to steps that we had to take to shut down fraud, which also caused delays in eligible individuals getting their claims. It was a perfect storm.
Is there anything that you might have done differently that would have prevented this fraud?
Well, that is why, in the time that I've been in this role now, I've been very focused on trying to help create a system that is going to work in the next crisis.
But looking back on what happened in California, $32 billion, huge sum of money that we lost. We're still paying the price for that. Is there anything you would have done differently as secretary to stop that from happening?
I mean, again, the system needed to work when people needed it, right? And there were people who got the benefits that they needed. It helped them stay in their homes. It helped them, right, keep food on the table. It helped to support the kind of economic recovery that we've seen now.
Madam Chair,
But
I'm out of time here, but I will yield back and just note that we have a nominee here who $32 billion was lost. The state auditor found that was because of the performance of her department and still can't tell us one thing she would have done differently.
Thank you, Mr. Kiley. Ms. Stevens, you're recognized for 5 minutes.